Abby. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. This week we are looking at dark academia Rex. So we'll start off with some of the classic ones first. We have The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and this book I really enjoyed and was vibing with for the whole beginning, and then I feel like it just kind of fell apart at the end. But if you're looking for a character study that's all vibes and focuses on rich kids who get into mischief while studying Greek, then this is the book for you. I felt like she had comments to make and didn't necessarily follow through with those comments. There was a lot of things kind of left in an epilogue style. We also follow a narrator who's trying to get in with this group of people and maybe isn't the most reliable of people to be following. So this is classic Greek-focused dark academia. In The Secret History, we know from the beginning that someone's going to get murdered, and we kind of look back through at how they end up at that murder, and then what the aftermath of that murder looks like. Then we have If We Were Villains, which was definitely inspired, took inspiration from The Secret History, but instead of studying Greek, these people are studying Shakespeare, and we start the story with one of the people coming out of jail and talking to a detective about how we got to where we are. So we start the story at the end. So similar to The Secret History, If We Were Villains, we know there's a murder, but we don't know what happened. We don't know who did it. We know that the main character is in jail for it, but not really what led to that. And so we spend the time going back through. I know some people don't like this one as much because it quotes so much Shakespeare. I would say that it's more accessible to me than The Secret History was because I've read a lot of Shakespeare and studied English literature in school, but I can see that as being a stumbling block if you are not well versed in at least like Macbeth and Hamlet and A Midsummer Night's Dream, those kind of stories. Then classic, we have Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and I could have included this in my monsters, but I think that it is more the dark academia vibes than it is about the monster, because Victor Frankenstein is obsessed with learning about life and how to create life and become God, and then as soon as he does create life, he abandons it and spends the rest of the time trying to deal with this monster that he literally created. It is a tale of nature versus nurture. Is the monster bad because Frankenstein neglected him? Is he bad because he should never have been created? This story is an exploration of what it's like when man plays God. Another new but also classic is Babel, which follows a group of students who are in Oxford studying translation of languages, and they're each brought there for different reasons, but our main character, Richard, is brought out of poverty and to Oxford, and so this has a commentary on colonization and the importance of language and the meaning of different words and how things get lost in translation. It also, I really liked that the magic system was word-based, and this can be really dense for someone who is not super into linguistics. It has a lot of footnotes and different things happening in it. But if you like languages and you like language as a magic system, this is a great book for you. This book also does a better job of being in your face about the criticism of academic settings, whereas the other ones, it's implied that the academic settings and the way that they kind of breed competition and promote very white male-centered study, that this does a more in-your-face critique of those things, unlike the other ones where it's more subtle. Next, a recommendation I don't see as often, Murder Your Employer, McMasters' Guide to Homicide by Rupert Holmes. This book, I read the book along with the audiobook. The audiobook has Neil Patrick Harris as the main character and is really well done, but it is a story where the subject itself is murder that they're studying. So all the people in this school want to delete someone, and they have to have a moral reason for wanting to delete them, and they go to different classes like the art of disguise or alibis, things like that. And so we follow 3 characters, each trying to murder their employer, but for very different reasons. And it's also set up as kind of like a textbook or a handbook, a guide to someone who might want to go to McMasters themselves. It was definitely a weird read, but it was very humorous and fun. And like I said, with Babel, this too is more in your face about, like, instead of studying classical literature, they are studying murder itself. And so they're already one step beyond the other academic settings. If you're looking for something much lighter, but I would still say is dark academia, the Truly Devious series, the first 3, and then the 5th one, because the 4th one takes place at a summer camp. We follow Stevie. She is sent to a remote school in Vermont to work on her thesis, which is to solve the murder and missing person case of the Ellinghams. Both the mother and daughter go missing. This is a modern day story, and it still has the secluded academic setting, but is much lighter in the tone. We also go back and forth between the 1920s and 30s timeline and like 2010, 2015 kind of timeline. The 5th one actually takes place in England and follows a group of kids who are essentially living out a dark academia story, fitting into all of those stereotypes of like the self-centered one, the one token girl, those kind of things. And their time together results in a murder that the main character is trying to solve years down the line to help out a friend. But yeah, it's definitely a much lighter and quicker, easier read, but still has those academic vibes and still has a bunch of murder. Again, a much lighter vibe. His Dark Materials series, starting with The Golden Compass, follows Lyra and her demon Pan as they set out from Oxford on a exploration. In this society, your spirit is like outside of you, but when the spirit and the person are cut off through usually death, but through other means later on, it creates this dark material or this dust, this matter. And so it's a critique of the Catholic Church, and it is a critique of, again, trying to play God or make these decisions for what's best for people who have no agency, but follows a young girl and is much more of a venture. In the 2nd book, we had a new character, Will, who has a way of kind of going through time and different dark academic settings. It's a fun read and definitely much better than the movie. I watched the first season of the show and that was pretty good, and definitely has that dark academic vibe to it as well. So check this out if you're looking for something that's lighter but still focused on these same themes. And then the last 2 I have not read yet. They are both on my list to read this fall. The first one is Vita Nostra, which follows a young girl who was vacationing with her mother and is taken to this school where everything's kind of weird. They have very specific tasks that they have to do every day, different consequences, and it definitely seems like they're doing something to their mind while studying these different scientific technologies. And again, I haven't read it yet, so I'm not sure exactly what happens, but it's very dark and takes place in an academic setting as well. And then the last one just came out this year. It's called In These Hollowed Halls and has some of the same people from the other books that I've recommended who are writing short stories that are dark academic stories. And so I just got this. I haven't read any of the stories yet, but some of them are continuations of the stories that they've already written. The people who are part of this are Olivia Blake, David Bell, Lane Fargo, James Tate Hill, Phoebe Wine, Helen Grant, M.L. Rio, Susie Yang, J.T. Ellison, Kelly Andrews, Kate Weinberg, and Tori Bovolino. And so yeah, I'm excited to check this out. If you've read this, let me know if you enjoyed it, which stories were your favorite, and I'm excited to check it out. If you have any other dark academic recommendations for me, please let me know in the comments. And if you've read any of these or picking up any of these because of my recommendation, please let me know that as well. I will see you next week.